the Walking Life's Journey podcast. I know.
Work it out. Hey, go ahead.
Podcast.
There you go.
Look, I'm so excited for you all to be joining us here once again. We have been consistent. You've been showing up. You've been seeing us every Monday. And right now we are on episode 18. Do you know how much work it takes? Do you know how much effort it takes to be here every single Monday for you all?
Yes, Lord.
But you know what? It has helped us tremendously walk this journey called life. And so what we're going to be talking about today actually came from the community. It also came from a podcast we were talking about, and these two right here just kind of leaned over into the next episode. So why not talk about it? And it is, as parents, how much should you share with your children about your life and your struggles? You know, we got a comment after we had finished recording an episode, and it was like, you make it look easy. Parents, are we making life look so easy that our children are having a hard time out here when it's time for them to live on their own? I don't know, but we're going to have a conversation about it. Let's get started.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So you kicked it off. Do we share too much, or are we not sharing enough?
Yeah.
You know, what does that do to our kids? My opinion, there has to be a balance. Okay. You can't share too much because it's not a child's space to be in. You know, whatever issues you're dealing with and so forth. But the balance that we talk about, or I mentioned, like she said, it stems from the episode we did called Memories, Lasting Memories, when we look back on our childhood and made a point that we don't have to continuously buy our kids every single thing they want, spoil them and things like that. So, but at the same time, like I said, you can't share every single thing with your child. It's not their place. I remember it kind of makes me think back to Keyondra.
Okay.
You know, we've been pretty blessed in our marriage and our relationship and our finances and things like that, to where we starting out, it was, when we were in it, it didn't look like a struggle because we made it happen. Right. But I think, I can't remember where we were. We might have been in Northern Virginia, but Keyondra took it upon herself. She wanted something, but she didn't ask for it because she was listening. You know, she was at the age where she was picking up on stuff, and she took it upon herself to be like, "No, it's okay. I don't need that, or I don't want that." You know, thinking that she was helping us out.
Yeah.
Doing us a favor. You kind of remember what I'm talking about? All right, if you can.
Well, I think too, we were talking, and it wasn't that we were in a struggle or anything, but we were just, I think we were moving, or we had moved, and we wanted some different things for the house.
Yeah.
Because we were in an apartment at that time, and we was looking to move and buy a house. So we had made ourselves like, okay, we're going to put ourselves on a budget. And like you said, she was old enough to hear we're talking about, we're going to start saving more. We're going to put more money over here on our budget instead of just spending. And because she heard us say, we got to cut back, she took that as, oh. And that, 1 second, because I was having a conversation with someone else this week, and we were talking about, why do you get in a place that you always have to figure it out? Why do you feel like you got to figure everything out by yourself when there's other people that can help you? And it comes from the childhood. Sometimes that your kids either hear you talk about your struggles so much, or they see you struggling so much that they want to have the new basketball shoes. They want to go on the senior class trip. They want the new CD or whatever, the new game. But every time they ask you, you say, we don't have it. So what that can do, I'm not going to say it always does. It leaves that child out there trying to figure out how they're going to get the new shoes, how they're going to get the new game, how they're going to make the class trip. Because if I go to mama and daddy, they ain't got it. But it can cause issues in our adulthood. It can cause you to be out here stealing because you want it so bad that you can't wait to get the income in. You can't wait till the support come and surround you. So you can end up stealing. You can end up pushing people away to say, I got to do it all by myself. And so that's just a taste of, she heard us talking about something, we got to save money. Not saying we were hurting for money. We just knew the next level in our life that we were trying to go. We wanted to move from an apartment, from renting, to being homeowners.
Right.
In order to do that, sometimes you gotta buckle down. You gotta change the way that you're spending money. So
yeah, and I think with that being said, it's again from her perspective looking at us.
Yes,
she wasn't old enough to really understand what was going on at the time.
Just took that piece and
she
ran
took
with.
Yeah, from what she felt, and she did it based off of that. She said what she said based off of that. But how can that affect you, like specifically? What types of, you see your parents struggling, or they're showing you too much of what's going on, or they're not showing you enough. Give me your thoughts on that as far as where that can lead you to as a young adult coming up.
Like y'all said, it's definitely a balance needed, because if parents just give their kids too much and they're thinking money grows on trees, or like things don't really cost anything, and it's just kind of like, oh, I want that, I get it, I want that, I get it. It leads kids to have this false sense of reality.
Yeah.
So when they get into the real world and they start seeing like, and parents aren't providing for them no more, it's like, okay, now
that's their reality check right
come
there.
on now. And then they feel like real low. I feel like that can make people become depressed, because now they don't know how or understand that concept of how to get it on their own. But then parents showing their kids too much of the struggle, like you said, makes kids either not want to ask for parents to do anything no more, or to figure everything out. And that's when you get kids working really, really young, or trying to sell things to get money, just anything to get money at that point, and trying to hold all the weight on their shoulders, on their own shoulders.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
good.
definitely that balance of, you want, like, give your kids stuff, but sometimes it's like, okay, don't have them to the point where they don't even appreciate y'all hard work at that point.
And that's a big one right there. Sometimes we make it easy on our kids, especially if we had to struggle in our own lives growing up. We're like, you know what? We don't want our kids to have to go through what we had to go through. But honestly, part of what we went through made us who we are today. Yeah. So if we wouldn't have had some of those, we call them struggles. I call sometimes those struggles was good memories for me. They were fun times. Now my mom would have probably said the opposite, but out of the struggle, I saw enjoyment. But if we didn't have those, where would we be today? How does that shape and mold the person we are today? Now, what we could have done different, though, when we were talking about our situation of moving from one apartment to trying to buy a house, sometimes it is watch what we say around our children, or at least give them a full explanation of like, hey, we are trying to be homeowners. We are in this 2-bedroom apartment. We want to move to this 4-bedroom, 3-story house. This is what we're going to be doing, but this is where we're going to get. So we're still going to enjoy the parks. We're still going to be able to get some things, but we are also going to put ourselves on a budget. So that way they don't take small, like, pieces of a conversation and run with it. And in their own heads, they figure it out. I mean, we do that as an adult still. You hear a piece of a conversation and you spin your perspective on it. And now you're like, oh, well, I won't ask that next time. I won't do that next time. Well, come on. Let's ask it. Let's do it. Let's see it through.
So it definitely sounds like teaching, and sharing, and actually providing some context to what's going on. But again, we don't know when they're listening.
Yes.
We could be having a private conversation with our door shut. We don't know what they pick up on and what they hear. And they pick up things and run with it, and again, place the onus on them, or try to burden, shoulder whatever's going on without, again, fully understanding. So great checking in, having those conversations, but that goes back on the child as far as being honest too about how they're feeling.
And you're right about that.
A lot of times, Miss Thing right here is like me. She keeps a lot of stuff to herself. Regardless of it. And then when you finally have a conversation, she does finally open up. It's like, oh, I didn't know. At least those type of aha moments where, okay, I get it now. So,
And going back to your question of how the childhood can shape you. So me and my friend, we kind of have like we had the same upbringing where like we're fortunate enough for our parent, like we got a lot, so we felt like we were like good. We thought we was rich kind of, but because we didn't see our parents struggle, but in reality we were just blessed to be able to live a good lifestyle, and it made our standards for things, because we're looking at apartments now and stuff, and our standards are like way up here. In our budget, we're like, okay, we need jobs that will get us to our standards. Whereas her boyfriend, they're looking for places together, and he didn't grow up with any of that. He struggled from the bottom, so he's okay with anything. So like her standards up here, he's like, I'm just good as long as I have a place to lay. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it shapes people's standards as they grow
Absolutely. It humbles you when you understand struggle, and when you come from that, you go at things a bit differently versus having access and excess and not seeing where it's actually coming from. You don't appreciate it as much. Yeah. You know it's necessary, but it's like, okay, it's gonna come. Yeah. Versus when you got to go out and now you realizing as an adult, man, I got to pay for this.
Yeah,
it's a whole different ball game when you start seeing numbers. Yeah. So I think with sharing with your children as they're younger is about teaching. That's our purpose as parents. We're supposed to be teaching them, so that they won't fall into the same traps that our parents did or run into issues that we have. Yeah, you can work them out. Yeah, they can. Eventually, we've been blessed enough to work them out. But they don't see the juggling behind the scenes. Yeah, absolutely. So taking those moments to actually teach. So, and again, that balance, not oversharing. A child should be able to live and enjoy that childhood, because childhood ain't gonna last forever. If you're blessed enough to get older,
which we hope so.
Yeah, which we all hope so. You blessed to get older, you're gonna have enough stuff to deal with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had a conversation this week. I have a friend, a coworker, a right hand, and she'll be like, "Well, what's the next episode gonna be?" And she always give me good feedback, and I look for that. I look for that openness and that communication. And she said, when you all were talking about that, and you said it was going to be a next episode, she immediately went back to something on her own childhood. And it was, her family, her mom and dad wanted to do a big family trip for them. It was kind of like they're all getting a little bit older, and this is something they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Finances may not always have been the same, but they wanted to do this. And shorten her story up a lot, but it was mainly they were at this expensive restaurant that was going to cost like over $70 per plate per person. And the trip had already went, and they have done all these other things, but the cost of everything had to go on a credit card. Well, this wasn't a family that used their credit cards to be like, oh, let's have a good time. We'll worry about it later. It was a family like, swipe my credit card, pay it off. Swipe my credit card, pay it off. And this particular situation, they swiped their credit card, and in order to pay it off, because it cost more, they actually had to put in overtime hours. So it goes with, as families, as parents, we want to do things for our children. We want to do things for our families. But sometimes that cost is like, okay, well, when we do this, this is what I'm going to have to do to make sure that get paid off. I'm going to have to do overtime work. I'm going to have to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is. I mean, we had earlier this year, all of us, so my nieces, my daughter, my mom, we all went to Vegas. It was like our first grown-up women's trip, right? And I didn't want them to have to pay for nothing. And you and I had talked about it. Like, I was like, babe, it's going to get us. But everything worked out perfectly to the point that the plane tickets were under $200. Our plane tickets, we had enough points that they were free. Mm-hmm. We had timeshare that our week was very, very, it was a low cost for our timeshare, and everything worked out. We had great activities. We went on Eventbrite. We had an awesome time. But I was willing to say, okay, I set aside this amount of money that we're going to use, and it turned out great. Mm-hmm. And so I say that to say we want to do those things. Mm-hmm. And we count up the cost and we say we'll take care of it later. And that is not necessarily, I will say, a struggle. It's we want to do it. And so for you to have this like not last hooray, last party, but to have your cousins as grown-ups, not in Virginia, but in another vacation spot, we wanted to do that. Because you guys are now getting older and you're going to have to plan your own trips.
On your own,
Doc. You have to use your own dollars.
Yes, Lord. Thank you.
To tell you guys the importance of staying close to one another. Yeah. Yes, you are, in relationships. You guys are becoming parents. But don't ever let that separate who you guys are as the core group of family. So you still got to be able to say, okay, I don't care who I'm with. I don't care really how many children I have. We can make time to still come together. Mm-hmm. So we make those choices, not as a struggle, but it's like we're going to take all the costs because one is in school, one got a part-time job, one is, whatever it is. We want that togetherness. And how do we get it? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I say all that to say, I think they should know some of our conversations and they should know some of the things that we have going on, but they shouldn't have it all. Right. Again, on another call this week, I tell you, when I say the amount of calls I had this week, right, it was, I tell my kids everything. I tell my kids everything. Well, you tell your kids so much that they feel comfortable standing up and disrespecting you. And now you can't spank them. You can't be upset with them because they got all your business and some.
That's good.
You allowed them to see everything. Yeah. A child should not see every single thing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. There has to be that line. I think a lot of times as a newer generation, we cross those lines between parenting and being a child's or trying to be a child's friend.
You said it.
And that's major once they get to a point where you've shared so much to them and then have come to them as like they're your peers almost in a sense that they're comfortable enough to come and mouth off or say what they got to say and now you left to deal with it. Yeah. Nah, Doc, this ain't what that is. So that's that balance that we talking about. A child should be able to be a child and enjoy childhood. Stay in a child's place. I know that ain't the story for everybody. I know that a lot of kids got to step up and grow up a whole lot quicker than they should have. But that's what it is. But for the most part, parents, if you have the ability to share, but use it as a teachable moment. Don't use it as a moment just to vomit everything you got on them just because they're an ear and they're your child and you can do what you want to do. No, because what you pour into them as they're younger, it's gonna manifest itself somewhere as they get older. Whether it be in their relationships and just how they carry themselves, all of the stuff that we teach them as young people, it eventually comes out. So,
what you think is we put all of our eggs. Y'all have heard me say this. We put all our eggs in one basket, and now you are you're a young adult, so you're not you're our child. You will always be our baby, but you're a young adult, and I think even our relationship changes because I've always been mom. He's always been dad, and we've always asked for that respect. But there is, the older you get, there's that level of friendship that comes in, but it's not, I'm your friend, girl. You tell me everything. You can say whatever you need to say. It's still a level of respect, but we talk to each other a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I see that with my mom too. But what are you seeing?
No, yeah, I think conversations are definitely different. Like we just talk to each other like normal, not like as far as like on friendship level, but it is like, hey mom, like we just talk. And even with the trip and stuff, and coming back after the trip, y'all didn't tell me everything that was going on with the house, but you was like, all right, y'all, we need to tighten up a little bit because we've been spending a lot of money on that level. But I do like the relationship that has like formed as getting older because it's still, of course, a respect there. And y'all don't treat me like a child where like it's like you're like littling me still. It's like that mutual respect that we have.
I like that. Mutual respect.
And I think that's why I'm still okay, like, being at home, because you're not still treating me like 16, 15.
We not getting on her nerves, so she don't mind staying here.
That's what I heard. So what I hear you say
is the perspective, right?
But you do have some people where they're like, when they're in their parents' house, they just hear nagging all the time, or it's just like that whole level of like, you're not doing nothing, and we got to do all this. But it's like,
but when you say that, that comes from a place. A parent, excuse me, I don't mean to put everybody in a bubble, but typically, if a parent says something, it's because something not being done the way they expected to be done, or the way it was expressed. You have grown and you have matured to a point where you do things without us having to ask you. Yeah. So that's why you get what you get. Now, trust me, if you weren't handling business, you would definitely hear our mouths a lot more. You know, and it would be a tense situation for you as a young adult, still being in our home and still wanting your freedom. Yeah. You know, but you've earned some things. Yeah. So.
And I think that just goes with the understanding of like, you work all the time. You did your time. And like, as my way of giving back is like, let me make sure my stuff is good. But not everyone has that understanding as well. So.
Wow. So it's that balance. How much do you tell your children? How much do you let them see into your life? Because what we realize is that our children learn a lot from us as parents. And sometimes the lessons are really, really good. And sometimes the lessons is because we got baggage that we have carried over and over and over. And we're teaching them that same baggage mentality. Yeah. So watch what we tell our kids. Watch how we show up. And be there. Be there as parents. And it can look totally different. So, yeah. My grandson's making me laugh. I'm sorry. You're whispering? You call yourself whispering? Yes, you can. He's whispering. I don't know if y'all can hear him. He wants a popsicle. Can I have a popsicle? Yes, you can.
Yeah, nah. All great points that we made. Yeah.
And we mostly talk about financial, but it's also like people's health and stuff too.
Oh, now you're right about that. Yeah. Don't take us in there. We got time. Because that is real. When family members are going through health situations, sometimes we're tight-lipped. So go ahead. Tell us where you're going with this.
Just sometimes parents or just any family member doesn't want to put that weight on another family member's shoulder, so they feel like they have to keep it secret. But then when it really goes like, I feel like, okay, when you're first finding out about it, okay, it's okay to stay quiet about it. But when it start really going downhill, then you have kids and other like cousins, nieces, they're like, we didn't even know this was happening. And then they're feeling some type of way because you didn't even let them know, because they could have helped you as well.
Yeah, that's good. Again, that's a older adult sharing with a younger adult, right? Yeah. Not necessarily sharing with they're your kids, but it's a different level of understanding, and they can actually process what's being said versus dumping on a child they can't distinguish. Yeah, definitely. What it is. Yeah.
It's knowing that level of, it can be that same topic, but at what level is it being discussed? Absolutely. You got to meet the child at their level, right? Absolutely. And if you don't have the words, I will tell you, there's a lot of books out there that will help you through the situation. So that's a good one. But let me tell you something that I'm not secretive about. And let me tell you something that I will shout from the top of my lungs, from the rooftops.
She love me, y'all.
I do. I do love him. But it is the month of May, and everybody that knows me, so community, if you haven't gotten to know me the way I think you know me now, the month of May is my birthday, and I don't celebrate just one day. The month of May is my birthday, and so I am now screaming to the top of my lungs, it's your birthday, it's your birthday, it's your birthday. So I have great expectations, not necessarily of my family and my friends, but I will celebrate myself. They can come along and add to it.
Thank you,
but it's the month of May. Oh, y'all coming along and add to it. Y'all can come along and add to it. But it is May, and it's my birthday month, and we're going to talk about some other great topics for my birthday month. So, thank you for tuning in. It's May. It's my birthday month. You can always find us where?
YouTube, Podbeam, Spotify, Amazon Music, and was that everything?
Yeah, Facebook.
Oh, yeah, our Facebook group.
Tune in radio.
Mm-hmm.
And always don't forget
Hope.
No.
I don't know where you at. I told you. I don't know where you at on these days.
Don't worry about that.
The month of May is my birthday month. So make sure you check us out for the rest of the month of May. Because we're going to be celebrating Nikkita. What? Until next time. Remember, you are a key part to your story as you walk this journey called life. Always here for you. Thank you for joining the community. Until next time. Bye.
Peace.